a very significant thing that we know, at least according to the writings about the Buddha, is the selection of his flock. You see, most of his followers were upper caste. There were some 40% Brahmins. We also know that all the great Buddhist thinkers later on, Nagarjuna, Vasubhandhi and so on, were born Brahmins. We know that the Buddha himself, at least according to the writings, again, we don't know what the historical Buddha really said, but according to the writings, he announced, he did not make it a big point, he did not systematically announce, but at least in one sermon he announced that there would be a future Buddha, the Maitreya, and that he would be born in a Brahmin family. You find, in fact, the very same idea in Vaishnavism, where it is said that the next incarnation of Vishnu, after the Buddha, the next incarnation is going to be Kalki, who is going to be a Brahmin. So I don't see that anti-Brahminism in Buddha. There were some differences of opinion on certain occasions, but he had far better things to do than a crusade against Brahminism. Indeed, you see, that is the whole primary fault of this whole doctrine of the Buddha as a social revolutionary. You see, the Buddha was all about reaching enlightenment, reaching liberation. And if you want to do that, social reform is going to be a big waste of time. You see, the Buddha precisely says that, you should, and not only the Buddha, of course, all spiritual teachers say that you should minimize your worldly needs so that you can spend more time on spiritual pursuits. If you want to do meditation seriously, you should not go to the cinema, you should not go to the brothel or whatever, he opposed all that. Even if you're a layman, you use as much time as possible to do your meditation. Now, in worldly pursuits, while you shouldn't go too far, at least you see, to some extent you may achieve your worldly pursuits without too much hassle. Like, for instance, many people dream all their lives of becoming rich, and whatever they do, they never become rich. Okay, such people exist. Nevertheless, there are also many people who devise a plan, how to become rich, and they succeed, and they do become rich. So, you see, these ordinary worldly pursuits are not so time-consuming, are not so impossible. Whereas, by contrast, if you want to create the ideal society, now that is a long job. You see, with that you're going to be busy all your life. So, the Buddha was not interested in that. Like all the later Buddhists who went to new societies in new lands, he just took whatever society had to offer. You see, in China, the Buddhists immediately adapted to the existing imperial bureaucracy. In Japan, they immediately adapted to the military aristocracy. In Thailand, in Indonesia, and so on. Everywhere they adapted. Also religiously, they adopted the local gods and all that. They partly, to some extent, participated in the local rituals. Like, I've seen a Buddhist temple in Los Angeles for the Thai community, where people came to offer to the Buddha white chicken. So this is some local animist, as they say, ritual of sacrificing white-colored chickens to the gods. So they applied that to the Buddha, and as long as it was not too troublesome, even Buddhist purists, let it happen, accepted it, because going against it was too much trouble, at least if you want to concentrate on your spiritual pursuits. So the Buddha just accepted, whatever caste system existed. We will see a few examples of that. Also important in this respect, when the Buddha dies, he is cremated. And so then they have his ashes. What to do with them? Now they want to keep the ashes as the center of a stupa. You know, a stupa houses a relic of the Buddha. And there are 8 cities that claim his ashes. And so the ultimate solution is that each of them is given a part of the ashes. And then they can build a stupa around it and so on. But the funny thing is how all the elites of those cities, how they argue their case. They say, we are kshatriyas, and he was a kshatriya, therefore we are entitled to his ashes. And the next city says, but we are kshatriyas, and he was a kshatriya, therefore we are entitled to his ashes. Now, if the Buddha had been an anti-caste campaigner, it is still possible that those elites secretly still harbored casteist feelings, but at least publicly they would have clothed their claim in a different language. They wouldn't have come out as blatant casteists. And yet, you see, after 45 years of Buddhism, they were as casteist as ever. They effectively said, but these shudras, they are not entitled to his ashes, we are, because of our caste, because of his caste. The followers of the Buddha, valourised caste. And so again, you know, the facts of his life do not support this image of the Buddha as an anti-caste campaigner.